Welcome in everybody to another Ace Arena. This is the third installment. My name, of course, is Sam Tate of Ace Maneuvers, and I am joined by Snuggy. Snuggy, why don't you introduce yourself to the folks who may not be familiar with you at home?
Um, I'm Snuggy. I'm a content creator, a Twitch streamer. I normally play Loot Goblin in games because I love collecting rare things, which naturally attracts me to TCGs. I've been playing Universes for about a year. Big Critical Role fan. I've been in the Critical Role community for over 9 years. So it attracted me to the game, and I've been hooked ever since.
Nice. And so people probably know you from some recent reveal videos. You've had some really nice reveals for the last couple sets. Um, is there any events that you're either traveling to or that you have traveled to in the past?
Yeah. I am a PAX partner, so I go to PAX East in Boston and PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia. And I went to the regionals in Atlanta and was at nationals in last year as well. Didn't make it to Worlds, unfortunately, but maybe one of these days I might. Didn't make it. Next event, I'll be at PAX East. And coincidentally, it's the same time that the pre-releases start. The first day of PAX East is May 8th, and pre-releases start May 9th. So hopefully there will be some good pre-release events at PAX East as well.
Nice, nice. That's I've never been to any of the PAX events, but they always seem to be like one of the better gaming convention, although I guess everything's sort of like a generalist like nerd culture convention these days. But it's always been one of the ones I've wanted to go to. Like Gen Con and PAX always seemed like the biggest ones that weren't,
Yeah.
product specific, I guess.
And they used to have things like E3 where it was just a big showcase of everything. Um,
Yeah.
but it's it was interesting to me looking into the background of universes and seeing how UFS started, and it all started with Penny Arcade. So
True.
being at PAX all the time, it was just a great tie-in because I have such good memories and good relationships with people there.
Yeah, it's kind of funny if I remember correctly. The the first products ever printed, I believe, were critical or were sorry penny arcade cards.
Penny Arcade cards, yeah.
I can't remember if the starter deck was like the first product sold, like the first product to come out. Um, but it's very funny because I'm almost positive at some point, like on a Penny Arcade forum, I saw a post. And this is maybe like peak Penny Arcade, like 2006,
Yeah.
2007. Or I guess I don't know. It's probably peak for different people at different times, but my enjoyment of Penny Arcade was definitely peaked like 2006 to 2008. And I remember seeing on a Penny Arcade forum like people talking about the product and talking about the cards, and I had absolutely no idea
No idea.
what
Yeah.
UFS was or had any intention to buy them or play the game. And then here I am 2013, 14, like 6, 7 years later, stumbling into a card shop to play the distant relative, I guess, basically of that card game. So it's kind of funny how it I won't say it came full circle, but it's just funny how like life leaves you little breadcrumbs.
This, yeah, all ties together, and it's funny that you mentioned that because naturally I started showing off universes and played in webcam tournaments and done some TCS stuff on my stream as well. And one of my friends who I've known for probably I think 12, 13 years at this point, who we call him one of our convention convention friends because you have your real life friends you see every day. You have your online friends that you talk to whenever you're online, and then you have convention friends. You only see them once or twice a year, and it's always going to be at some event. Um, but we would always stay together whenever we would go to BlizzCon, Blizzard's convention, and
Okay.
he saw me playing Universes, and he goes, "Man, that looks really similar to this game I used to play." I went, "What was it?" He said, "UFS." I went, "Oh, it's the same game."
Yeah,
And he goes, "I still have a starter deck from that." I went, "Cool. Do you want to sell it? Because I know people that will buy it if you're not going to use it."
that's so
But
funny.
yeah, it's interesting how it just all loops around together with everything.
Yeah, I when I got into UFS, it was kind of like a similar vibe because in Vegas I got to speak to Shane Duckworth, who used to work for Jasco Games for a long time. You know, prolific uh, champion of the game. You know, won a whole bunch of tournaments. There was one point where he was working for the company and like winning every regional, which we called Pro Tour circuit events at the time.
Yeah.
And so Shane was just kind of like all over the game. He was like the face of the company. He was like the ultimate ambassador, and he was also maybe the best player. Like there's a legitimate argument that Shane Duckworth is like the best player of all time, and he just spent so much time working for the company rather than playing, right? And so when he taught me how to play the game, basically, we connected over the fact that I played Raw Deal, which is like a super niche wrestling card game, like WWF era, pre 2006. It like actually lived through the transition. Like the first cards say WWF on them, and the later cards say WWE, right? Um, and so a lot of the mechanics and a lot of like learning UFS was easier for me through Raw Deal. And it turns out that a whole bunch of Raw Deal players played UFS, so it was like, oh wow, here's like my dead card game I played as a kid that like all these other people know about. And I think like that transition made it at least a little bit easier for me.
Yeah, I have kind of similar as far as like thinking back about card games that I've played in the past that have just are dead. And that's kind of whenever I was starting to get into universes, I had somebody actually say, "Oh, that's a dead card game." I went, "Really? Is it?" It has several iterations, but like, I can think back. In fact, I've got like 5 or 6 different starter decks from the old Werewolf the Apocalypse TCG whenever that was around. And
Rage?
then yes, Rage. Holy crap, you know about it.
I know.
I have
I can never remember what the vampire one is called, or if vampires are just
Vampire
in
Masquerade
Rage.
Rivals is one that got started on Kickstarter that was been going for very many years now, and I backed them on Kickstarter because I was all about it. I have almost all of the expansion sets and cards that they have, and they just canceled it. They're not supporting it anymore and
Wow,
no longer doing organized play. So I went, okay, cool. So now I have
annoying.
a bunch of cards from 2 dead card games.
Yeah, I only know about Rage. It's funny. The so when I was a kid and I played Raw Deal, I was like 12 or 13, and all my friends who played card games were like 18 to 20. So they had like all
Mhm.
left high school. They all had like minimum wage jobs or like were in college, and they all spent all of their like disposable income on trading cards. And
Mhm.
so each person had like a different game that they would collect, and the one game that they wouldn't play with me was Rage because they were all like adults basically, and they didn't want to do anything involving World of Darkness with a 13-year-old, which looking back, super smart, good call,
Yeah,
like not
that is a
something
good
to
decision. Yes.
introduce. Because I played Dungeons and Dragons with them, you know, and like card games with them,
Mhm.
but like vampire werewolf was like different. So I've never played Rage. I don't actually know like anything about it other than what I overheard from other people playing it. Um, and like I'm like
Hey, I can
semi
bring you
familiar
some
with
starter decks.
terminology.
I can bring you some starter decks. It'll be great.
Yeah, I would love to play it. One of the things I would love to do with my channel, like long term, and something I thought I would end up doing more often, is like playing dead card games, like trying them out and just sort of like sampling them and like learning them. Because that's something I used to do almost as like a hobby. Like I used to go on Lackey CCG or Cockatrice or Octagon, if people know what those programs are. And I used to play like old dead Pokemon formats like circa 2005 and like 2012, you know, and played like um Legend of the Five Rings or like Lord of the Rings card games like through those means, and like experienced a bunch of card games I never got to play by just like hanging out on forums for dead card games where people who like still love the game, are like trying to push it and stuff like that.
Feel passionate
And
about it. Yeah.
yeah, and as time has gone on, people move away from forums and into like Facebook groups, and like they consolidate. So I'm in like a dead card games Facebook group, but it's not really the same vibe as like the old forums, because it used to be all about like one game. So you'd find all the people who are like really passionate about this one game and like talking about one game so you could like learn about it. Like a game I've never played, but I know too much about is the Highlander CCG that apparently came out in 1995 and
Oh
still
wow.
has a community to this day. Like it was still printing cards as recently as like 2018, and they had like, it's so funny, they had like the same exact relationship as like UFS did with Jason Horonsky during like the same period of time. It's so funny.
That's great.
Like the Highlander CCG forums, which I'm sure are defunct. I need to go check in on them. It's been like 3 4 years, but like they used to have forum posts that where people were like, okay, so this one guy bought the game and then he hired all of his friends to make cards and then they ruined the game, so let's just make our own cards. And like it's
Yeah.
like a huge like story that spans like 20 years on just like one form of messages.
I mean, it it can be saying similar as far as like the fan made cards and stuff for your universes, right? Oh well,
Yeah.
they're not making it on XYZ, so we're gonna make it ourselves.
Yeah, there's a surprising amount of like community created content for card games too. Uh I personally don't ever end up gelling with it, which sucks because I would love to continue playing these games, but like when the players are in control and they like refuse to make any, I'll say, bad cards just for the sake of it, like there's very little actual creativity. Like for example, Raw Deal is probably the one I've like paid attention to the most. And while I love Raw Deal, if it came back today, it might overtake my joy for universes. I don't know. It has some pretty heinous mechanics, but I like those heinous mechanics. So, uh, but
Yeah.
but like if you try to play Raw Deal in the year 2025, there's like 15 years at least of community created content. All of the community created content is meant to be good, because why would you make bad cards, right? And what ends up happening is when you say, "Hey guys, I'd like to play Raw Deal. How do I get started?" What ends up happening is someone sends you a deck list for like your whatever superstar you said you wanted to play. They send you a deck list, and 27 of the 60 cards are exactly the same. And then they tell you to
Wow.
use like 10 to 15 staple like low cost cards, because you have to like play zeros to start the game and then you play like higher cost cards, right? So they're like, here's basically like a curve to get you started, and then they give you about 20, like 15 to 20 slots to fill out the rest of your deck, which are guaranteed going to be character specific cards. So like Raw Deal has like, like your signature wrestler's move is like only that wrestler can play it. And like like there's some cards that have like two different characters that can play it, or like multiple characters, if it's like a group or a faction, right? Or if it makes sense, which is very cool. But for the most part, it's like, here's your moves, they're called superstar specific cards. And so like every time I try to play the game, it's like, well, if you're not playing exactly these 27 staple cancels, you cannot play the game well. Like, and it's just not fun at that point.
I haven't really run into that with any of the card games that I've played, aside from whenever I started universes. I only really started with the Challenger Series decks, right? So
Yeah.
trying to figure out and branch out from there, it was like, oh well, you need to play this character. I don't have that character. Okay, Well, you need to get that character. Okay, how do I do that? Because I've
Yeah.
only really had experienced the Challenger Series decks, and that's it.
Huh. Yeah, I well, so I will say that that dynamic is only for like dead card games where it's like community make where the community is making the cards.
Yeah, yeah. I would really love to see some universes, fan made cards printed out and see what they do with foiling and stuff like that.
Ooh, sorry, say that one more
Like,
time. You're a little quiet.
I'd really love to see some fan made cards for universes and see like some really good ones made and like see what they would do with foiling and stuff like that as far as how they would handle that.
So we have had some custom fan card contests. My judge for today, Nick Reagan, who also is a former world champion, held I think at least two different like create a card contests.
Hmm.
George Zhang has an entire fan made set for like the
And I
last.
missed out on actually testing that when he had it with him.
Yeah. I he had like a tournament or like a local like thing that he had set up to
Yeah.
play it on TTS, and I couldn't play that day, so I was really sad. But yeah, he has like a whole set. I know Pippa has like a Guilty Gear set, which is very funny because we're getting Guilty Gear now,
We're
so
getting it guilty. Yeah.
yeah, it'll be. I want to like revisit that because I remember Pippa had like a sick design for I think it was Zato. Zato is like a little summon that he does, and so
Yeah.
like this is like closer to MHA1, so I remember it being like a little Tokoyami esque, but like really cool. So
So what do you think about the upcoming sets that we've got throughout the rest of the year? Because we've got Challenger Series decks coming up, AOT3 coming up. We've already seen some AOT3 reveals. It seems like AOT cards have kind of shaken up the meta every time they've coming out have come out. So what do you think is going to be most interesting to
so
you at least?
Zach, thank you for the 19 months. I I'm really torn on Attack on Titan. I'll be truly honest with you because
Mhm.
um I love a lot of the text, and I feel like I don't know if I'm correct on like what the idea of these cards are, but I like the idea at least that I get when I first see them. So like for example, one of my favorite cards, I think I made a video talking about it, is Unexpected Outcomes. Right? Unexpected Outcomes is a huge difficulty, and it comes with like really reliable stats with like having more speed than difficulty, and the effect is absolutely bonkers when it like rips something good. It has a good baseline of just looking at your opponent's hand, and like everything about it kind of gels as far as like this is appropriately costed. It's in a really strong effect that we've never really had before. It has like crazy implications and like ways that it interacts with other cards, right? But then whenever it does resolve and like whenever it does get played, it's like the biggest blowout ever usually. Like it almost never is a liability for decks that want to play it. So it's tough. A lot of this stuff I've seen from AOT3, I've been really excited because the text on it is like really cool or like really strong. Um, but then it seems like with AOT3, they might have like dialed it back a little bit on the power level, like power scale. So I'm excited for that because the AOT 1 and 2 cards that shook things up are like have not left a great taste in my mouth. So it's weird. I want to be excited for AOT 3 like I was for 1 and 2 because there's like cards with really cool text on them. But the cards, if they're good, they're probably going to be too good, you know what I mean? And we've just been in like the
Yeah.
super high powered format for so long that it's kind of exhausting. So AOT3, we're going through the reveals, and I don't really have a verdict yet, but I'm like real 50-50 on it. I'm excited for Ninja Turtles. I feel like Ninja Turtles has the highest potential of any of the new products coming out, because there's so many different things you can do, and as human beings, like, we like to categorize things. um and like the Ninja Turtles have like their own like personality test within them, right? So I feel like the Ninja Turtles have like the best potential to be like, you can have a central theme that all the turtles are mutants and ninjas, and then they also are like very individualistic and like have their own themes and archetypes. So I'm excited to see what they do with TMNT the most.
I'm kind of right there with you as far as Attack on Titan Apocalypse, because even doing one of the reveals and seeing some of the other reveals that have come out, I feel very much the same way. Where it was Attack on Titan as it released, it seemed like it was shaking up things, but shaking up them too much, because it was okay if you didn't have Attack on Titan cards or these very specific overpowered cards, then you weren't competitive whatsoever. You were going to lose all the time. Um, I think it is good, at least in my opinion, as somebody relatively new to the game, to see the power creep kind of roll back a little bit. Because especially watching games play out, it really sucks whenever you see a round go turn two both times and then it's over, and now you got to wait another hour before you get to see another game. Um,
Yeah.
Not that it isn't entertaining, because it is, to see something that strong, but as a viewer, it it feels a lot better to watch a longer game, because you get to see the more mechanics play in and how everything interacts with each other, rather than, oh, they just got smacked for 40 damage in a single turn.
Yeah, as someone who has watched maybe the most Universe's games, if it's not me, it's Tamron Cardwell, right? Um but as someone who has watched just a metric ton of Universe's games, there's a lot to enjoy about all the different types of games. Sometimes a 5 minute turn two fiesta is like a nice palate cleanser, right? It's like a
Yeah.
sharp radish in the middle of a dinner. But if you had radish throughout the whole night, it's not gonna do anything for the rest of the meal, right? So
Hmm.
that's kind of how I feel. Is like, you want good meaty games. You want like a good, like, heavy full course dinner for most of your games, and then some of your games can be little treats. Maybe you have the one super long card control 1-0 game, and that's like your big heavy dessert
Hmm.
at the end of a tournament, where you've watched like all these super sweaty games, and you're watching the winning in, and it's two players who are trying their hardest not to lose because it's the final round, and a tie doesn't help them and stuff like that. So uh I can appreciate the turn two decks occasionally, but if that is the majority of the
Yeah.
format, there is really not much to enjoy, unfortunately.
It's just like, you got to find, there is a vast middle ground, but you got to kind of find the middle ground as you go along. It's like, okay, well, do you want to see a pre-errata Mikasa where they're taking an infinite turn, or do
Right.
you want to see Recovery Girl v Recovery Girl and be sitting there for 3 hours?
And that's, I think you hit the nail on the head too, where it's like, my biggest issue right now is like the length of a turn. I've had multiple games that I watch go to time, and it's like a 3 turn game. Like they played like 3 turns each, and it took 30 to 40 minutes, and it was like game two. And it's just crazy how sometimes a pony deck or a Mikasa deck or a Hanji Zoe deck or even a Devil Jin deck is just gonna play cards forever, 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 and like it takes forever. And Chad's asking if you think that's a player issue or a game design issue. It's a little bit of both.
I'd
Um,
say both too.
when it comes to when it comes to card games as a spectator medium, right, as like a visual medium, and as far as entertainment goes, I think a lot of people throw things on designers when players do have a role in it, but the player's job is not to entertain. Their job is to play the game well. And so it's up to designers and the people who make the rules to create an environment where they can do so in a way that isn't obstructing the fun. Because there's definitely some times where it's not the game's fault that it's taking an hour. You know, there's sometimes where you watch like a super big slog of a game or even a turn two of a game, and it's not the designer's fault. So it looks like we have pairings up. You want to start hunting down a game?
Yeah, let me get it pulled up on UGN. Too many windows open right now.
I think we just start off at table two. Justin Birch and I don't know if that's Jorge or George. I think it's George R. That should be George.
It's George. Go.
Yeah. Okay. Let's head to table two.
All right.
I guess it might take them a minute to get the games up and running. The timer is not officially started. So it's funny because it's single elim, but there's 14 players, and the way it sets the bracket up, there's actually 2 buys in the first round.
There's 2 buys. I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah, so for anyone watching at home, we're going to disappear occasionally when I switch windows. Don't worry about it, we'll be back. But every now and then the 2 videos will disappear.
Everyone.
But yeah, I wasn't kidding when I said that it's gonna be an easy $50 to pick up. Anyone who's watching at home, you know, you guys are basically giving these players free money by not signing up. You must simply beat Kevin Broberg. Okay, well, to be fair, Kevin didn't enter the first 2. All right, I didn't think he was a TTS gamer anymore. Okay.
I mean, you must simply beat Kevin Broberg. That's fine. You can do that.
I mean,
anyone can do that.
He's just playing Nick Reagan. It's not like he's playing a good deck, right?
No, just a simple Nick Reagan. No big deal.
You gotta go to locals to make Zach upset? Alright, fair. He's on a side quest.
That is fair.
He's on a side quest. Yeah, I thought about trying to make the Ace Arenas into like more of a locals vibe, but I don't know. I kind of like the small cash prizing though. It does seem like this one just had a semi unfortunate timing because we had the webcam circuit a couple weeks ago, and then we've had
that case event was yesterday.
Yeah, the Boar's Hat gaming event. Although I don't know how much overlap there would have been. I'm really not sure. There's a lot of players I know who like play test on TTS, but they don't join like online tournaments very often. So
yeah,
you know, I don't know what it's like. And it's funny because most of the people I know don't like playing webcam. They prefer to play TTS, but they have joined more webcam events than they have joined TTS events. So it's one of those things where like in business it can be difficult to take, you know, the feedback and the information that's given to you and like draw a straight line sometimes, you know. You look at it and you're like, oh, well, these people hate webcam and they play the majority of their universes overall on TTS. And then you put up a TTS event and they're not playing in it, but you put up a webcam event and they do play in it. So TTS events always end up as same day as something else. You know, I've done them on Saturday and I've done them on Sunday. I can't, I don't think I can pick a different day. I don't think picking a weekday is gonna work out better.
Yeah.
All right, I'm still waiting.
I don't.
I think they put up a different name. I think. Let me see. I'm gonna jump in there. Oh, I can't jump in there. Webcam.
Universes, trying to see what is listed.
Yeah. We got 3, 6, 7, 8. Missing 4 and 2. Let me see here. I don't want to join that. Let me see if I can just. I will jump to another game in a second here, but what? Said his name is Double Mulligan.
Oh, I see it. It's named UVS.
Alright, what did he put the password to? These are the craziest. I give out the simplest instructions, you understand, chat? I give out the simplest possible instruction. Get absolutely nothing. No cooperation. All right. And okay.
All right.
We got some extra buttons that are gonna be in the way for a second. After this game, I'll get them to reload the table. But so we've got Smiling Titan, Justin Birch. This is why I wanted to join this game. Because Justin Birch is a believer in Smiling Titan, even after the errata. And I want to see how it goes up against the format's current boogeyman, Nick Reagan.
Starting off with a warp gate portal. Looks like they both got a pretty good first build turn.
Yeah, we got the 6 build from Smiling Titan, which makes sense. Trying to rely on that extra health point, which I guess is not really extra anymore in the Attack on Titan world, but 31 used to be a healthy chunk. But trying to rely on that high health total and invincible body to play defense for us rather than from the hand. Although we also have 2 Keiko's aids.
Using Star Razor for the block.
Yeah, gonna be a partial block into 1 Keiko's aid.
Yes.
Interesting. Oh. Ooh. Yeah, 1 check in our 5-hander. Kinda nuts. We're gonna go ahead and play through the Keiko's aid with Sniping Spy. This one's going to clear our card pool, but we're going to have to commit 2 foundations for it, which is fine because we have 2 foundations that ready themselves. So after we clear our card pool, a Mother's Embrace is going to be able to flip and ready itself. And now we fought through the Keiko's Aid. We have 1 less progressive difficulty. And we're going to go fishing with Nick Reagan. Death from above.
Death from above. Unfortunately, hit 2 in that rotation.
Yeah, not the most optimal way to go about it, but it
Playing
looks
into
like
another.
Yeah, it looks like we did the invincible body to take 0 damage from the first sniping spy, but the second sniping spy is gonna clear the card pool once again and get a little bit of bonus damage. Okay, supersonic flight on the remove. That's some more card draw. Got a lot of card draw.
A lot of card draw.
I know we can't really. Yeah, I was gonna say we can't really see his whole hand here, but it looks like we drew too many cards. So we've got the resolution there is to reveal the hand to the opponent, and they choose a card or a number of cards equal to the overdraw to remove from the game. Super remove, not even in the Nick Reagan remove. And this is just so webcam, you have the issue of your internet connection or your webcam might stall out. With TTS, you've got issues of you might have pressed the draw card button too many times, or you press the wrong number over your deck. So
if you have it set to like a key binds, you end up pressing it twice, or if you hit 1 to draw 1 card and it registers as 11, you're drawing 11 cards.
correct, yeah. I run to the issue where my control check hotkey is next to the 1 button. And I just haven't found a better spot for it. I use like the little squiggle to do my control checks. But there are times where I draw a card instead of checking or check instead of draw. So luckily it didn't seem to be too punishing for Nick Reagan, who had 8 cards in hand or whatever it was. Whatever crazy amount that was. But we are going to give Smiling Titan a turn. And Smiling Titan's not the best at turn 2ing people, right? Like the backswing is usually pretty strong. But it's not like deal 33 in one go strong.
No, for sure. And at least whenever he was getting ready to build, he did get Science Bros and a Prison Noble down on the board. So he has 2 foundations ready in order to block, and a hand full of possible and potential blocks. But coming in with Colossus Titan's Destructive Power, that is very high diff card, but also hits extremely hard if it gets through.
Yeah, this is one of the cards that made me think maybe Smiling Titan does still have some sauce, if only because it's weighted so far in like the damage direction that giving this attack 5 speed makes it into a 9 diff, 12 mid for 13, which is still pretty reliable. Very different than like an 8 diff, 8 mid 8, right? Where you can make it either kind of blockable for 12 damage or unblockable for just 8, which is pretty expensive. But this one has an amazing blitz. It's like Ravages of War, like cooler, more handsome cousin, you know? Your rival's going to sacrifice a foundation, then commit one, then flip one. So no hand attack, but double stage attack with the, well, triple really, with sacrificing and committing those. So, gonna get in there for, looks like 8 damage.
Yeah, it was 8 damage. She went to go block, check the 2, unfortunately,
Hmm.
and it looked like you built in past turn.
Gonna take the Colossus Titan's destructive power to momentum.
It's interesting. I haven't seen too many people play Tranquility to Death in order to just seal a rival card for free.
Okay,
But
quick
I like seeing it played.
quick update. I was confused on the math. We took 18, which is the correct amount. It was a typo. We're at
18.
15.
Okay.
Okay. I was like, I don't know how we took 8 from this, but we took 18, which is correct.
Yeah. Okay. I was
uh,
sitting there confused as well. I'm like, well, he checked it too, so he didn't pass it, but I don't know how we dropped 10 damage.
yeah, but it was just a little typo on the health counter. So yeah, 18 damage from one attack. Perfect example of what I was talking about, where we did half of our 5 hand-sized rivals' health in one attack, but because of that high
Hmm.
difficulty, there was no real follow up. And Justin's back to playing defense with one card in hand, and it better be a really good one because I don't think that's going to be enough.
Yeah, I will say that's the second time he's going on defense with only one card in hand.
Yeah, we've got the Keiko's Aid on a relatively small board. But the all symbol Nick Reagan deck is really good at passing checks, and we've seen from this list specifically, it's got ways to clear its card pool. So I don't know if
Hmm.
the Keiko's A is going to be enough, and always cool can be really tough to decide which attack to use it on because any of them could be true 100%. Unless this is the air deck. No, this is the air deck. I'm tripping, huh?
This is the air deck. The all
Yeah.
deck is coming up though.
Well, any of them could be death from above.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we hit the warp gate portal, which means we can play anything from our deck afterwards, and we've got 38 cards left in it. Justin's gonna draw a card with button collector, so
Button
2 cards
collector,
in
yeah.
hand, but one less ready resource.
I mean, it is a 6 mid, so even if he goes to try to go for the block, then he can use Keiko's Aid to try to add some pressure, but not much. Only playing on 2 progressive difficulty. There's one of the better cards coming out for a block. Ravage's War.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have too many foundations for the response. So,
Hmm.
not going to make the rival discard. Probably not the most relevant text, anyways. But that +2 difficulty matters, especially against a deck that's willing to play one checks. I don't know if there's a one check left in the deck. If there's only one, I would assume we might try to play it. But +2 difficulty, what do we got? Oh,
Ends up failing.
yeah, rough stuff. So that one was on an 8. We had to check a 5, and we would have needed to commit every, or a 6, I guess. But a 3 is not going to do it. But I see the vision, right? If we do pass that check, we do get some more card pool clearing, and then it's just one guaranteed check and a ready to capture the target away from passing another attack. Okay, we've got the response from Tranquility of Death. Gonna seal a card in each stage, so always cool getting sealed, and the little check helper here from A Life of Danger.
Yeah, I haven't seen many people play Tranquility to Death, but it does add a certain complexity and entertainment to each player's choices on what's going to get sealed for the turn.
Yeah, it's funny. Sealing is a pretty strong effect, and doing so before you even play an attack is incredibly strong. But with the drawback that your rival gets to target one of your foundations, it usually fits well in decks where your whole stage is defense and your offense is kind of on rails, which I think pretty much accurately describes every Smiling Titan deck I've ever seen. It's either
Yeah.
form abilities and responsibilities, and then a bunch of defense in the stage. And there you have it. So disciplined maneuver into another Colossus Titan's destructive power, and 3 attacks. 3 attacks is all you need. Yeah, it is very funny when you've got 2 tranquilities out, and your opponent's best choice is probably to seal the other tranquility.
Yeah.
So we didn't see a ton of defense from either side. However, the one deck that played a tiny bit of defense beat the deck that played um, that played absolutely zero defense.
No defense whatsoever. Yeah. He just went super aggro. Ended up working out in his favor, but I have seen that against Nick in the past, and it just blows up in their face. Out of all the characters that currently are being played, at least today, I think Smiling Titan would be the one that would actually be able to pull it off on a consistent basis.
Yeah, I haven't seen too many like crazy good applications of the Nick Reagan enhance on defense. Like I've never really seen it hit anything more impressive than Supersonic Flight to draw a card. Um, but I've never even seen like that card draw be the difference. Excuse me, be the difference maker. So we got a loot box. Is that what this is? This is a loot box.
Yeah, the loot box.
Okay, a little bit of ramp for Nick Reagan. Okay. Another aggressive build. This time only 5 though. No league invitations yet. Or is it league interview? Which is the one that's +1 to the check? Too many league cards.
That's league interview.
Okay, there's too many cards with league in the name. Is there even a card called League Invitation? I bet there's not.
Yeah, there is.
There is? Okay. There's too many league cards.
I'm pretty sure whenever I was trying to pick up that card, I ended up picking the opposite. Whenever I was buying them off of other people. Because I got invitation and interview confused.
There you go. All right, Nick Reagan hitting Lightning Rod. That's a sick one. Okay. So kind of like Loot Box, Lightning Rod builds you 2 face down foundations. But at the end of the turn, they get removed from the game. So Loot Box will give you a face down foundation until the end of the turn. It goes to your hand. Lightning Rod, very similar, but they get removed.
It is interesting to point out that Lightning Rod is the same 2-check that blew up in his face last game. So at least it is paying off in his favor this time. Coming in with Sniping Snipe once again.
Yeah, we love this sniping spy play, which I think is pretty sick. But I don't know if we've seen like the full vision come together, right? We've not seen like 4 or 5 attacks played in a turn, but with all these extra resources that we've managed to ramp, I think we can get there this turn. I think we're gonna see it. And I think we're gonna need it if we're gonna have to play through these invincible bodies every single game. Yeah, I had you on max volume both through OBS and through Discord.
Oh, it's still soft? Alright.
Yeah, I did get the confirmation it was much better from someone else, but Zach is struggling. Alright, so we hit Supersonic Flight, World's Weakest, Electric Moth, or Fast Hybrid Chimera Kraken. Now, do you take the card draw here? or do you take the ability to commit and freeze? It looks like we took the ability to commit and freeze. Facing danger is now done for.
Okay, I'll try mic check now.
That sounds better to me.
Okay.
I could
Sweeping
dig it.
daggers coming out.
Sweeping daggers
Everybody's
is a cool one.
$100 card currently.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of sweeping daggers. This card feels like it needs a cost attached to it besides play a 4 diff, but there's a lot of times where it's a blank 4 diff, so I don't know if it needs too many extra hoops, but I'm a big fan of effects like this. One of my favorite strategies for other card games like Magic the Gathering and Star Wars is to steal my opponent's cards. It's very satisfying when your opponent plays like a really, really nice, expensive card, both like real life money expensive and also, just like a high cost card, right? And then you just get to say, actually, that's mine. I'm going to do this. You have nothing. And Sweeping Daggers is kind of the closest we have to that. Maybe Unexpected Outcomes fits that role too.
I was going to say that's probably the other one, but you don't see unexpected outcomes played quite as much as you did whenever AOT 1 released.
Yeah, I thought Unexpected Outcomes was going to be a little more playable than it was. It has shown up in some surprising places. Like Broberg's Hanji 2 playing it was a little surprising to me. But it won Worlds. So when you can play it, it's very good. And Sweeping Daggers is kind of like an Unexpected Outcomes that you can always play.
Yeah, it seems, and I heard it said yesterday during the case events, if you have sweeping daggers and it's on any symbol that you play, why are you not playing it?
So, really quick, I'll get back to that point because there is some reasons where you won't. But
Oh
Schoolyard
yeah,
Smackdown is another card pool clear coming out, and after you clear a card with it, you get to change the zone to the cleared card zone, and then it gets 1/1. So very cool stuff here. I'm wondering if we're gonna see George here. It looks like he played another foundation, but we didn't ready incompatible quirks. So we've got these foundations that are going away. Okay. Oh, that was probably his 8 stack. So yeah, we're gonna ready
that was
incompatible
six stack
quirks
first.
because it's basically always frozen unless you remove a foundation. Oh, this
He
has
went
powerful.
Yeah, he went for the powerful on it.
Okay. Oh no.
He just immediately took it, and that's the game.
Yeah, Grenadier Blast. Well, so I don't know. Justin might have scooped a little early there. I don't know if we checked for the Grenadier Blast, but it's a 2 check. There's 1 checks in the
Yeah,
deck. There is a chance I think George could have failed that, but I want to talk Sweeping Daggers for a minute because I think that's a really important point right now in the community. There's very few times where you don't play Sweeping Daggers, and most of the time it's something that you're gonna sideboard out.
hmm
But I have definitely seen matchups where you don't want to play Sweeping Daggers, and I think it's gonna become sort of important to the metagame. And most of those are backup decks. If you don't have any backups and your opponent is a backup deck, right, and you play Sweeping Daggers, you're almost never getting anything for it. If you like don't have an asset or a backup and you remove a Beast Titan attacks, you get like nothing for it, right? The only one is basically Harness Undeath, and that's because it counts the opponent's backups in their discard pile.
yeah, and that's the thing that I run into as somebody that plays a lot of backup decks is sweeping daggers is either going to be a hit or a miss if you're playing it against
Yeah, like I've played it against Caduceus, and I've played it against like Elder Taguro Death Rattle combo. And unless you're hitting like
Yeah.
exactly Harness Undeath or you're like removing the win con from Elder Taguro's deck, like it's usually feels pretty bad in those matchups. But um and I don't know, I've just played against so many people where I look through their discard pile and I'm like, why are you playing all these bad cards? So speaking of bad cards, though, it looks like we put the speed on Colossus Titan's destructive power to make sure it's
Mhm.
unblockable. So we don't get the 18 damage, but we get 13, which is pretty solid. However, I think Justin just hasn't fixed his health total, right? He's not at 7.
Yeah. And interesting to see a Desperate Struggle coming out there. That's one that I've been messing with a lot as far as having Rainy being able to, as a backup, unflip cards,
Yeah.
um, being able to control exactly when they play a bonus. Doesn't matter if it's speed or damage, you just return it to printed.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this card. This was a big reason why Desperate Struggle was a big reason why I wanted to play the death symbol at Denver. One of my reasons to last minute switch to Death Grog is Desperate Struggle is another card that's relevant into the Flash Deku deck. It's
Oh, yes.
relevant. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no, I'm agreeing. Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, so it's relevant into like Flash decks. It's relevant into um, what you call it, like the one shot, like Elder Taguro combo style decks. It's relevant into so many different things, and the fact that you can like pump your rival's attack and then reset it is super important, I think.
Haymaker ending up going through. We have Smiling Titan going to take 7 damage and just building for the rest.
Yeah, not the explosive turn Nick Reagan's looking for, but having only 3 foundations, and one of them got committed by the league invitation, so both are in the deck, by the
Mhm.
way. Pretty annoying to keep them all straight, but here's league interview +1 to the check, Ravages of War. So
Oh,
our
it's coming out.
12 mid for 13 turn 2 that just made us sacrifice a foundation. We're now going to play probably a 12 speed 8 that makes us sacrifice a foundation.
And there goes. Sacrifice goes down. It is it is interesting to see the the aggressiveness of the Smiling Titan deck currently coming into play. You're kind of seeing the line as far as what Justin's trying to do with his deck. The Nick Reagan deck. It, Nick Reagan's always hit or miss for me because it really comes down to how well did you compose the deck so that when you get that the 8 cards removed, whether or not you're going to hit actually what you're looking for.
Yeah, I can definitely say it's not a difficult deck to pilot, but it's not a deck, the Nick Reagan deck, it's not a deck that you can just pick up and play, I think, either. There's a lot more, at least the versions I've seen. Granted, George's version is very unique. This is not really like a lot of the other lists we've seen, right? It's usually an all
Oh,
list.
with Berthold's devotion, was that attack blocked? Because if not, that burns him for 2. That would be lethal, wouldn't it?
Well, no, he went from 20 to 10.
Okay.
He just took the 8 and then burned for 2.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
I thought he was sitting at 10. I went, wait, hold on.
yeah, no, it's they're playing at a pretty nice pace. We've got a lot of 3 diffs. Okay. So, double
Hmm.
invincible body to prioritizing the league invitation over the second invincible body is interesting, but we had enough foundations that we were committed to passing it no matter what, I think.
I think the leaving invitation. I don't know. I think the prioritization on that over the invincible bodies isn't too bad of a choice because he only has realistically 5 foundations. And giving it -2, especially if he's trying to chain and get towards a kill turn right now. Well,
And our opponent checks ones sometimes, so that's not
yeah,
going to feel too good. Someone in chat pointed out
get it
that
checked on -1.
yeah, well, so the league invitations and enhance to e-commit.
Mm,
You
that's
can't
right.
respond to that one check, but you can make the next check -2 with an enhance.
Hmm.
Um, but the biggest thing with the league invitation is it target commits science bros. And if there was any way that you were gonna fight through like these massive resets, it's probably with like crazy science bros plays. So league invitation might end up saving you more than an invincible body in the long run, but oh, and you can't reduce the check on the rival's turn?
Oh,
Oh, that's
it's on
true.
your turn only, and it just got flipped.
Yep. So we're gonna check a 5. We're gonna fail it. We're gonna lose science bros. So we had to commit 3 to pass the check. League invitation committed a 4th foundation, and it would take a sun run for George to pull this off. But I won't count Nick Reagan out. He can hit vast, vast hybrid chimera kraken like off the top. Like he can search his deck for it with Warp Gate Portal. We can guarantee our
There it is.
check with this Warp Gate Portal by discarding a 6 because we're playing Dark Interruption. So it's not over yet. Unfortunately, we milled the Vast Hybrid before doing the remove 8 into a full whiff. Oh my
Into
goodness. Okay, I take it
nothing.
back, Chad. It's over.
That's probably going to be game, yeah.
That's over. I take it back.
I mean, that just goes into what I was saying before, right? Like Nick Reagan, there's a million different ways that you can actually get everything together, but ultimately it comes down to whether or not you're going to mill one of the correct 8 that you need.
Yeah,
Just getting that one card out of it.
it's a question of ceiling, right? Like he has such an
Hmm.
insanely high ceiling, and not just when everything's coming together like luck wise, but when someone is playing him at a high level, his ceiling is incredible. But when the game takes away that ceiling, when it takes away your agency and it gives you one checks, it gives you whiffs on the top 8, it gives you bad clunky opening 5 hand size hands, it's the basement is some of the lowest as well.
Sniping Spy coming out once again and fails.
Yeah, he snapped drew his hand. That was
Oh,
pretty quick. Justin knew. Yeah, they're
yeah,
just gonna
and
show
that's
the
game.
hand.
Yep,
And that was game 3, right? That was all 3.
that was all 3.
That was all 3. So yeah, so Justin's gonna take it. Smiling Titan moving on over Nick Reagan. If you had heard before this event that there was gonna be a Smiling Titan and a Nick Reagan, who would you have bet on?
Honestly, I would have said Nick Reagan. I wouldn't have expect Smiling Titan to actually take it, especially as quickly as he did.
Absolutely. I definitely would have said Nick Reagan, though I also would have been assuming that it was the all symbol Nick Reagan. And I'm not sure how I
Yeah,
feel about Nick Reagan with bad checks. It is very cool. It is very bold. It is very courageous. Um, but I don't know if the 5 hand size aggro deck is the one to play 4 1 checks and 4 2 checks in. Granted, they're very good, and I get why they are in the deck. But
Hmm.
you know, I've just seen too many players who go, "It's fine, man. We won't check them," and then they check them and they have an awful time. So, uh,
Honestly, that's why when I was playing Pony, it, it, Lethal Slash seemed to be everybody's new hotness, but I still refused to play it. I played it maybe one or two games, and I ended up checking those twos. It just comes down to whether or not you have that wherewithal to actually check the two or the one and be able to still roll and move past it, or whether or not you're going to get hung up on it or it hits you at a crucial time where it's just game over from there on out.
yeah, I think Pony might be the only deck that I would play Lethal Slash in. I think it was showing up in some Bert Holt 2 decks, but I think Bert Holt
Mhm.
2 was like carrying that card, whereas like maybe not carrying, but like there was just so much draw power that you could overcome a lot of the variants. And I think that's a big part of it for Pony too. Is I think the more card draw you add to a deck, the less likely you are to check badly. Because there's normally a roughly similar number of control checks as cards drawn, right? Like for example, you draw 6 cards at the start of the turn. You're gonna play as many of them as you can, usually, close to 6. So that's 6 control checks for the 6 cards that you drew, or very similar to it, 4 to 6. And the more cards you draw, the more cards you get to play, and that's the more resources you build, and it like fuels itself. So by the end of a game, it should be that you've checked almost as many cards as you drew for a normal deck. But when you get to like Berthold and Pony, the stats skew so far in the other direction that they get away with the 2 check. But those are like the only decks I can think of, and it's mostly the card draw that I think allows them to do so.
So let me ask this. I'll ask you, Sam, but I'll ask Chad as well. Are there any one checks that you think, if you could include in one of your currently played decks, you would?
Ooh, is there one check I would just slam in a deck right now? Is that what we're asking?
Yeah.
I don't think so because I think I would have put it in a deck by now, right? Like it would already be there.
Mhm.
I will say there's not many in standard right now for as far as one checks go, but I do think
Really?
Zeru's Flames is a very cool card, and I have brewed around Zeru's Flames multiple times.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be in standard. Like if you can think of any legacy ones, like they brought up Coffee Samba in chat as well. Like, is there another one check that you would play that isn't currently in standard?
Well, I mean, if Coffee Samba was legal, that's a pretty slam dunk answer for a 1 check. Um,
Hmm.
there's definitely some ones I've enjoyed before, and we're talking just 1 check, right? Not 2 check.
Yeah, just one check.
I mean, if there's any 1 check that I would play, it's probably Guardian Slasher. If you're familiar with Guardian Slasher, I like Princess Perry. Wrath of the Raging Demon is an old pet card of mine. I used to play Wrath of the Raging Demon just as like a high difficulty flash attack with no hopes of ever playing the unblockable response on it. Um, I played a lot of 1 checks back in the day. They didn't usually go over well for me. Tengu Dive is cool. I would play Tengu Dive. Fruitador, I like Fruitador, a 6 mid for 8 base that like punishes your opponent for passing enhance.
The only one that I can think of whenever first started playing the game, and because I really started taking the game serious, playing on Toga and Pony whenever Girl Power came out. The only one that I actually ever tried to play was One for All Unleashed.
Okay.
but that was more almost for the memes than anything else because having an entire stage of like 20 cards all face down
Yeah.
was just an interesting concept to me whenever I started playing, being able to see all of that laid out.
I've definitely tried to make that one work once or twice. Kamui Woods can add it to the card pool, right? So I've definitely tried like
Mm,
an Earth Kamui Woods deck that played all the discard outlets at the time, but they usually ban discard outlets for being too much value.
mm.
So Hellfire Impalement would be cool, but that's a 2 check. So that's not technically what we're talking about. Um,
There's still lots of good two checks out there though, especially
yeah.
with
I
like
think
Heroes of Exandria added what, 3 or 4 more two checks, I want to say.
yeah, quite a few. There's quite a few 2 checks in there. I think that uh how do I put this? I think you could reprint a lot of the 1 checks, because the 1 check is a big enough deal right now, and like the way that the game is played and like long strings and long flows of cards. Um I think that a lot of the 1 checks could come back despite like their relative strength. But we do still have cards like Barrier Shield and like Runaway that makes bad checks more palatable, so I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I definitely I've definitely enjoyed some 1 checks in the past. Yoga Inferno would be cool. Uh what's the other one I used to play? Oh, I've played some Drill Bomb before. I like most of the 1 checks. There's very few 1 checks that are annoying because you don't see them a lot. Like Boulder Barrage Genbu is probably the worst one, and it took an errata to the face. So, other than that, like you don't see them enough to hate them, except maybe Princess Perry.
Well, speaking of errata, how do you feel about the errata that came out most recently for Combined Firepower?
So, are you talking about the article in general, or strictly the combined firepower errata?
Well, the article in general was intriguing as well, given the cards that they listed that they're keeping an eye on too.
Yeah. Um,
At least from my
I
perspective, I ended up losing out on like 4 or 5 different decks that I play or that I had crafted because Combined Firepower got restricted to a single character.
so I didn't read the actual article. I just know that they banned Immortal and errata combined. Um, my official stance on these are that the bans were like long overdue, and we're at a point where I feel like it wasn't enough. Like combined firepower should have been errated before Worlds. Immortal Shapeshifter probably should have been banned before Worlds. And there's so many other things on the list that it just feels like all the ban lists come by too late. And it's almost feels intentional. And it's starting to get really frustrating is kind of how I feel. So um
Mhm.
I want to be happy because they addressed 2 of the cards. Like I made a video where I spoke for 30 minutes, and I'm pretty sure Shapeshifter and Combined Firepower, take up the lion's share about the video. But that video was like right after Worlds or like right before Worlds, I think. I think it was right after Worlds though. And it was like, so the main point of the video was don't just ban these cards, make sure that you take a look at like the fact that there's like 10 cards punishing the metagame, and then Nick Reagan and Mitchell Chimino were added to the metagame after that. You know, um, I think my video was right after Critical Role came out, so it was like Science Bros was either previewed or like out, and it was like we're gonna be so far behind if we don't proactively do bans and erratas. And when they did the ban and errata list, I was immediately like happy because they did something. But after looking back at the format, it was like people have already moved on from firepower decks like in the metagame, either because they're tired of playing it, they don't like playing it, or it's not seeing results. So it feels like they just took things away from people without opening any new avenues in the format. And I think that's like the worst ban in errata to do, is when you just take away from a format and there's nothing new that actually got opened up.
One thing that I did in reading the ban in errata that kind of intrigued me was that in giving reasoning as to why they chose Immortal Shapeshifter, they were talking about the different archetypes as far as, hey, you gain health, you get X, Y, Z. And then right after they say, you know, regardless of the amount, how much health you gain, they bring up recuperation time, which I think is something viable to be looked at. And they say that there are, but they bring up False Visage, which just came out.
Right.
It just
Yeah.
came out, and they said, "Oh, well, that's another one of the many different ones that gain health." So it almost seemed to me like they're like, "Okay, well, we have all of these. We're still looking at one of the other ones. We banned this one, so we just released another one that you can use."
Yeah, I think it's kind of crazy to look at it and point out False Visage. Like, this is a card you designed with Immortal Shapeshifter, like, in mind. Like, you knew about it, right? Or at least you should have. So, I. I don't like that reasoning a whole lot, but I get it. I also think recuperation time could have been like, you probably could have banned recuperation time instead of Immortal Shapeshifter. And I probably would have liked that more. I think Immortal Shapeshifter is kind of like a more interesting card overall, whereas Recuperation Time is just kind of like a static, you know, value piece that relies on cards like Immortal. So I don't know. I don't know. And also banning a common over a rare from like an out of print set probably makes more sense business wise. So I don't know. But Immortal Shapeshifter was definitely like the biggest enabler of all that stuff. So yeah, we are like less than 10 minutes left in the round. So I don't want to jump into another game just yet. Just because we'll almost certainly be catching something right at the end. I am gonna take a small break. I'm gonna go refresh my drink, feed my cats because I forgot to feed my cats this morning, and they're gonna be really upset. And we'll be back in like less than 10 minutes.
All right.
Okay, we Welcome back, everybody, to round two of the Ace Arena. We've got a Let's Talk UVS showdown for you. We've got TC versus his team captain, David Toombs, the man who signs the checks. Is he going to go easy on him? Are they going to collude? There's only one way to find out.
I'm looking forward to this because I think this is another Nick Reagan that's not on all.
I would not be surprised. Knowing TC, I would not be surprised one bit. Let me see what we've got going on. Oh, the deck list is very vertical. This is also air. In fact, oh my goodness. Oh, this is George's list. We had talked about that earlier. I forgot. That's so funny.
Same list.
I was trying not to get it was either Rodan versus Godzilla or Nick Reagan versus who was it? Was it Mecha Godzilla? No way. No, I don't know who. Yeah, it was like King Ghidorah, Rodan, Godzilla. It's like a. There's also a Kiryu. There's also a Mecha Godzilla. We got like almost every Godzilla Challenger Series character in this tournament somehow.
And that lady fell off, right?
Wub says y'all get paid. Yeah, you didn't know the Let's Talk UVS guys get paid for Top Cut appearances. Does MGLA not pay its players?
I know. I get paid.
I get paid sometimes.
I get paid by myself. I pay myself my own appearances.
It's so funny. We had Viva Las Foils, who sponsored the first Webcam Warriors. I don't know if they've been bought out. They've merged with another game store company, and they came up with the name. I forgot what it's called already. I feel bad, but they like didn't have a name until recently. But the guy who runs Viva Las Foils was like joking around about like, oh, I could like sponsor you guys, because we were talking about going to like the Denver regional. It's like I could sponsor you guys and you could just like write it off as an expense, you know? And I was like, please don't joke with me like that. Like that would be so easy and so cool. But like you know,
Don't joke around with that stuff, man.
yeah, like that would actually be huge. You know what I mean? Like to be able to write off traveling to card game events as expenses. So
I mean, I certainly do, but that's because I write off almost all the income I get from content creation because I do a lot of charity stuff as well. So traveling to events, anything like that, I'm like, yep,
nice
business expense.
Yeah, I haven't quite gotten to the point where I'm diving into the tax side of things, but I'm just about there where I need to. I usually end up owing a little bit of money every year, and I'm pretty sure if I wrote stuff off, if I itemize my taxes, I'd at least not owe at the at the end of the year.
Content creators, if you need any tips, I've got plenty doing it. As long as I have, I can try and help out, or at least point you in the right direction.
Yeah, I also like I need to get like a donor button instead of using Twitch subs, just because Twitch takes like half, and it would probably be better just to have like a support me directly button.
Yeah, after taxes, for every Twitch sub that you get, which is probably about $5, half of it goes to Twitch, and 60% of that goes to taxes. So I think you end up with like $1.40 or $1.35.
Yeah, like it's rough.
It is rough. It's rough out here, man.
Yeah, it's really funny too because it's one of those things where like on the consumer side, you know, you're like, I gave them my $5. Like, that's cool. Like, that's a cup of coffee. But yeah, you're right. At
Yeah,
the end of the year, once everything's said and done, it's like $1.80.
we did have TC because we saw the deck before. We're playing Sniping Sai and hit a Warp Gate portal.
Yeah, this is actually going to be, I think, exactly the same list as George's. So Warp Gate
Hmm.
Portal to go get Sniping Spy, to clear the card pool, to hopefully keep things going, to keep the flow going. Instead of forcibly checking sixes, we are clearing our card pool, which should, in theory, allow us to play more cards in the all symbol deck, provided that we check well in the first place, which, as we saw with George, we were checking very poorly instead.
We'll see whether or not TC is able to check a little bit better. We were able to kind of vaguely see the see the lines that were trying to be navigated in the past match, but you're right. There were lots of bad checks in the last game.
Yeah, and it looks like we hit a warp gate portal on the sniping spy. So we're gonna go search our deck for another sniping spy, which is then going to clear the first sniping spy. And after that is said and done, we have another warp gate portal in our hand. Yeah, Broberg is playing a at least Wub inspired Nick Reagan. Also probably Balatro inspired. So it looks like we're going to draw off Supersonic Flight, and then we're going to get the Lightning Rod, which I think
Lightning
this is
Rod.
super sick, by the way. I don't know if it's better than the all symbol versions that get to play true 100% and like most of the same attacks, like Death from Above and everything, but I think that Lightning Rod is a super sick inclusion.
I would agree, but we're getting back to my superstition. Oh, we don't check twos.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna
Skeletor's
go for
kind of coming out
more
again.
card pool clearing. Looks like we figured the math is better to clear the card pool than it is to play the Warp Gate portal on the 6.
I just realized something that is actually kind of hilarious.
What's up?
George's deck list, which he played last game, and is being played now by TC. The name of it is called "If You Checked Bad, It Is Just Your Fault."
That's true though. You put the bad checks in the deck, right?
It is true. It's very true.
Okay, so here's a super
Self-fulfilling
sick
prophecy last game.
here's a super sick play that the air version gets to make. We did the lightning rod in hands to build 2 face downs. We committed one of them to pass the check. Now we've got invisible infiltration, which removes one of those face downs that would normally remove at the end of the turn, and instead it's going to build it back as a permanent foundation after this resolves. So very cool way to not only unflip and ready a foundation, but now we get to keep it.
We didn't see that last time, for sure.
Yeah, we did not hit the invisible infiltration, at least in a time where it would have been relevant. Oh, Warp Gate Portal is
Oh,
now
yeah.
going to stitch onto it some more card pool clearing.
I don't see a world where David Toombs comes back from this.
Yeah, no, we're going to hit the. Looks like we. Oh, looks like we did a remove. Yeah, can't block the 9 speed. So, Reiner
Yeah.
Braun going down. I don't think this is David's This Beats Nick deck, but this is David's I really think I'm going to win some money today deck. He was trying to help me get to 16 players to increase the the
Yeah.
cash threshold, so that he
What
could
you mean?
so that he would win more money, but not looking
What you
good right
mean to
now.
say is that he was trying to get you to lose $100 if we got two more players.
Sorta, yeah. I think the
Yeah.
at the time the real math is like out 40 or whatever, but
Hmm.
I try not to dwell on that. I just told people if six more players sign up, it's much better for the players.
Well, I mean, for Webcam Warriors coming up, here in 2 weeks, no, 2 weeks,
3 weeks, 3 weeks from
3
today,
weeks.
3 Sundays from now. It's funny. I have the pricing structure on the advertisement that I ran. I meant to announce it like before the tournament and then just ran it. So if you were here during the commercial break, you already saw the pricing. But after this round, because it looks like it's gonna be looks like this might be a quick round. We'll probably look for another game, but in between, we'll probably talk about the Webcam Warriors pricing.
Got that coming up in the my channel. Um, from Sam that I
Oh,
got
I think you're breaking up on me.
donate. Yeah.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. I don't know if that's my end or yours. Could be mine. All right, try talking again.
I'm-
Oh, yeah, we definitely have lost Snuggy for the moment. Being skyrocketed. All right, well, we've got a too big to contain. 7 diff, 6 mid, 7. After this attack resolves, we're going to destroy one ready rival foundation. So your best bet is to commit out while you block this attack because it's not conditional on dealing damage at all. Regardless of if you block or not, it is going to destroy a ready foundation. Hey, Snuggy's back. Your ping on TTS is still high, and I barely heard anything when you were talking. It was like very staticky. Alright, we've got a Chomp coming out. Chomp is like a card I only see in Reiner decks. Like the full resource denial Reiner decks are the only places I see Chomp, and I'm surprised I don't see it more. I'm surprised I don't see Chomp plus Forcing Surrender as like a combo that people attempt more often. All right, Nicholas Reagan, played by TC, is going to get us started off here with a World's Weakest Hunter. And it's going to get either Death from Above or Vast Hybrid. I don't think Vast Hybrid's a bad choice here. I think committing and freezing the greater goal is not bad. I think hitting squad mates Betrayal is not terrible either. I don't know how many ways we can destroy for greater goal right now. I think it's just our character, so I think either one is fine. But draw 2 cards is hard to argue with as well, especially as a 5-hander against a resource denial deck. Alright, 7 speed's gonna be tough to deal with. Doesn't look like David has the right block zones in his hand either. I'm gonna pop a foundation for Reiner, give this -2 damage. Gonna rebuild one in. Looks like we went for, okay, so we went for draw 2 from Death from Above. Because this is gonna be DR'd down to nothing. We did draw Sweeping Daggers, which could get kind of crazy considering David is playing 4 check attacks. Oh, we got a little behind the scenes from Snuggy there. Right. Female Titan attacks. 7 high 7 is going to draw us a card. Don't have a backup. TC in character playing more defense than the average Nick Reagan. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Never mind. Never mind. TC in character as this Nick Reagan deck checking poorly. That was going to be on a 7 with a breaker 2 attached. And we checked the only card. Well, not the only card, but we could have checked a 3 and passed it. But we checked a 2. Alright, we got Snuggy back in the TTS game. Hopefully that means the return of their voice quite soon. We've got more resource denial from David's Reiner deck, but it's not doing any of the ramp. We gotta choose. Now that's, you know, that's a situation where we wanted to check a 3, right? If we had checked a 3, we could have committed out for that, and then we could have had all of our cards protected from the destruction effect. But we're gonna lose one. But David's still kind of far from transforming. Like, dealing damage is not the win condition for this deck, I would assume. I could be wrong. The average Reiner deck, though, is 100% trying to resource deny you so that when it flips basically all of your foundations, and then they're all privy to the ruin clause, right? So I don't know if this is the way to go. However, we do have some pretty nice cards in hand on David's side. Still no Snuggy video, unfortunately, or audio. So Attack Titan's Haymaker can't be blocked by cards with a printed difficulty 2 or less. Big Stun 2, fully committing out Reiner. Drawing More attacks. We got the Survey Corps Teamwork. We didn't see this before either. Maybe it's not the exact same as George's deck. I thought it was. Did George play? I mean, we saw so many cards. Okay, no, they're not the exact same. I apologize. George did not play Survey Corps Teamwork. So the Survey Corps Teamwork is different. And I think the other one here. Huh. Oh, the Survey Corps Teamwork is in the sideboard. What the hell? They are the same deck. It's just coming out of the sideboard. That's even funnier. Okay. So it is the same list. We just didn't see the sideboard tag. Grenadier Blast is pretty funny. It would feel a lot better if you had true 100% to splice onto it, right? Little card pool clearing action, but only 2 foundations and only 1 more attack. I think it'd be pretty risky to keep attacking after this. Might not necessarily be the wrong call considering how many floating bonuses you have, you know, with Survey Corps Teamwork and Nick Reagan. And if you chain draw into a 3rd attack, you get to ready capture the target and all this other stuff. But that would have been magical Christmas land. There's no way of knowing how well we would have checked. Now we checked really good here on this build out, but those would have been the cards that we removed for Nick Reagan, right? So there's still no way to really know if it would have been the right call to keep attacking. Probably very, very narrow chance of things working out for us. So some nice restraint shown. So we've got the female Titan form to go pick up a punch. That punch looks like it was knockdown blow, one of my favorite combos. I've tried to put this deck together on like multiple symbols. Most recently, I've been playing Chaos and Life or Chaos and Void. And hopefully with Fire, so I can play Knockdown Blow and Rejuvenating Smash and repeated 100% along with all the cool shift attacks. So it's been pretty interesting. And that's about the best I can say for it. I expect it to be more impressive here, though. Both players at 6 foundations. Seven high for 9. We're going to play this female Titan attacks on an 8. All we got to do is check a 5 to pass it. And it's going to come in as a 7 high for 10. And probably end up as a 7 high for 12. Not quite lethal. Also, not unblockable. Very blockable speed. TC can draw a card here to try to find the correct block zone. Oh, that just got harder. Wait, did he give it 2 speed from the female Titan? While the female Titan's committed? Ah. I don't know if that's what happened. We'll find out. I'll ask. I'm not a judge. I'm not actually supposed to be involved. But I might shoot David a message just in case after this game, because I don't know if I missed something, but I don't think so. I think we just activated female Titan while it was committed. And ball don't lie, TC blocked it anyways. Although I guess it might have cost him an extra resource. I can see you, Snuggie. I cannot hear you if you're talking. He restood female to female. Ah, see? This is why I don't get involved. Chat was on top of it. I was too busy trying to figure out technical difficulties while TOing the tournament.
Okay, I think we're good now.
Oh, I can hear you now.
All right, awesome. My graphics card decided to explode while we were doing this.
Yeah. So we had some pretty solid defense as far as Nick Reagan decks go. Smiling in top 4. Okay. Smiling wins again. What did you fight, Justin? Did you fight another Nick Reagan? Oh my, we have triple Vast Hybrid and a Warp Gate portal to start things off. But we had to start with incompatible quirks committed, and we checked a 3 on the Warp Gate portal. So even though this hand looks pretty bonkers, our control checks still have to be there if we want to put together the necessary 2 to 3 attacks it takes to deal 18 damage to Reiner.
Yeah, I've been able to keep an eye on the game as it's been progressing. It's just everything else was screwing up.
Sorry, say that one more time. You were really quiet.
Again? Hold on. I don't know why it went back quiet for some reason.
Oop, that was better.
Okay, it should be good now then. I was paying attention to the game, and yeah, you're right, they are the same exact list. It's just the sideboard came in, which we didn't see the last game.
Yeah, we didn't see the sideboard pieces. But here, this Warp Gate portal has the opportunity to grab a Death from Above, which can pump itself back up with a card, by removing an attack from our discard pile. Or it could draw some more cards. I feel like the correct answer is Death from Above to pump the damage back up. Nick Reagan's hand is only attacks. It is 5 attacks. We have played 1 attack, and we are holding 5 attacks in our 5-hander. Outside of control checks, I don't
look at your screen because I can't see the cards. Oh,
So he has triple in his hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying not to mention the cards specifically, although I guess I did just spoil that there's only attacks. If only because there is like a slim chance, someone could be listening while they play their game, but this should be game two. Nick Reagan is up a game. TC playing Nick Reagan should be up a game. And I think if he checks a couple fives here, uh I think he's gonna win. I mean,
Hmm.
Reiner has a lot of damage reduction, but the more he DRs, the less he can play cards on his own turn, right?
They are on the same team though.
Oh,
As as far as team wise, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just playing around at this point because TC definitely has this one.
I don't know, man. $50 is $50.
That is very true.
you know. Now knowing David, he probably turned it into like something he buys for the team at the next regional where a bunch of them are staying together, but might also turn into a 3 game parlay. Who knows?
Nick Reagan doing Nick Reagan stuff, hitting the lightning rod once again,
Yeah.
getting the 2 free build.
Lightning Rod making up for some of these bad checks, but I still feel like we're going to have to check at least 1-5 if we want to win the game here. And I really feel like we could have gotten more out of starting with the Vast Hybrid Chimera Kraken and committing that greater goal, because the greater goal, I think, is what's going to do most of the work from here on out. We can't stop the Reiner -2, but we could have stopped the greater goal -2. Gonna play it safe and play the sweeping daggers when
Yep.
instead I think going for the gusto was the right move there. Although played on a 7, if we hit a way to build a foundation again, the Vast Hybrid after this could be guaranteed, but there's nothing that says Reiner's not allowed to just block this move. Okay,
I
a
mean, that would
backup
make
or
the most
shift.
sense. It almost feels like TC's playing with his food right now.
I feel like he's playing it like overly cautious because he doesn't want to check bad and have his turn end. But he's not playing the cards that would lead him to victory faster, i.e., requiring less control checks. But we did hit a dark interruption, which would be
Hmm.
great if we didn't have only bad checks in our hand.
He ends up picking the 8%, it looks like.
Yeah, but I think it's only one card that's been cleared this turn.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna end up taking the Warp Gate portal and searching his deck for another sniping spy. And we're just never gonna play these fast hybrids.
They're just going to sit in hand.
Which
It seems like such a waste, doesn't it?
if if David doesn't block this, which he should on an 8, but if he doesn't
Hmm.
block this, I mean it puts us at 4. And most things okay, well, if he doesn't block this, he takes 2 actually. I don't know. I might have wanted to block that one. Looks like we're doing the Warp Gate portal. Looks like we're
Yes.
searching our deck. I don't know if there's any lower difficulty stuff. Like a besiege. A besiege would be pretty cool.
I'm looking through right now. I mean, I think the lowest that
Lightning.
we've seen is just 4 diffs.
Okay, I was thinking maybe a lightning rod, but this works.
Picked up a haymaker, checks a 2.
This doesn't work.
That does not work. The 2 checks killing every time, dude. This is just consistently proving to me mentally why I don't play them.
Yeah, I wonder how much damage Greater Goal reduced on that turn. I think it was 6. I think it was 6, and then you don't feel terrible about committing out on the last attack there, but only if it's fast enough. As chat pointed out, the sniping spy would have been the same speed and hit for more damage, so maybe they were looking out for a sniping spy, which would have made sense. That's been the follow-up to a warp gate portal enhance basically every time from this deck, so little heads up play there to not sell out to block the sniping spy. But let's see if it pays off, because if this attack doesn't deal, there's only one more chance for David to wrap it up on this turn.
Which I think he can do it, at least as far as what we've seen attack-wise. Yeah, there it is.
That's going to do it. It looks like we're going on to a game 3. So, drew all the angry cards, but could not check well enough to play them all. Unfortunate.
I was going to say, as far as what we've seen from David's deck, it's been primarily bigger cards. Because we've seen female and armored titans attack, especially at the end. Knockdown blow as well.
It looks like there's going to be a pretty good build for TC here, though. Going to get a 4 build in your 5-hander, looks good. And one of them is a temporary ramp card with loot box. So, potential for a pretty explosive turn, too.
And David's deck, I feel, is at a huge disadvantage going second.
That's true. I didn't even think about the fact that he could just like check a 1 and not build 4 foundations.
Knowing my luck with RNG, I would check 2s and 1s constantly.
Yeah, that sounds about right. We got chomped on our loot box. So not only did we only get a 3 build, we got one of them taken away from us. And then a 4 build. So chomp and a 4 build is a pretty powerful statement by David here. And we played 3 diffs.
I mean,
checked 5s on
yeah.
all of them. Truly blessed.
I mean, going second, that's pretty much the best outcome he could have right now.
Yeah, I mean, considering the hand, right? Like, we got to build everything. Yeah. We got to chomp it and not get punished. I mean, it's a shame that this Nick Reagan deck is going to just continue to check well for the next attack after this. I mean, we checked a 3, but it's a shame that it will not check well ever at all a single time.
So the Jorge deck essentially is designed to make Nick Reagan look bad, so people quit complaining about it, and then he just cruises on and continues to be Nick Reagan through another ban and errata. That's my conspiracy tinfoil hat theory right now.
That would be pretty funny. Get everyone to stop playing the broken deck, then play the broken deck as a time-honored tradition.
Yep.
Well, this one's gonna get put down to 0 damage, it looks like.
Yeah. We got Warp Gate, Lightning Rod, and Sniping Spy, and Schoolyard.
Yeah, I think I'm taking Lightning Rod there, but I could be wrong.
And I think he went Lightning Rod as well. Yeah, he takes the 2. It would be good to see an invisible infiltration again.
All right, Dark Interruption for 2. It's good to go. That's first blood in game 3. We're still going with that Schoolyard Smackdown. Gonna check a 6 from our hand thanks to Dark Interruption. A well-oiled machine this deck is.
There's the hero's upbringing. Ends up getting rid of Enormous Axe.
Say that again? Oh yeah, destroy for cost. Yeah.
I said a hero's upbringing coming out, and then end up using Enormous Axe and checking one as well.
What's funny is I think can you Reiner respond because it's a cost? Just after you sacrifice one or more?
Yeah.
I think you can Reiner respond to build that back.
That's what he did. Because he ended up
Yeah, like
it.
the way it was explained to me is as long as
Put it
you
back
are
down, face down.
making a choice on which foundation to destroy, it counts as sacrificing, so speaking of which foundation, we had another lightning rod.
I don't think that he ended up using Reiner response because Enormous Axe, after it's destroyed, you get top card built face down. So I don't think he responded.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, because if he ran a response, it would have been face down committed. So he
You-
ended up just using Enormous Axe static in order to bring it back in.
Yeah, you
I
might
think.
have done the Reiner once per turn on the first attack while DRing it, so
Yeah.
currently on a 6 high for 7.
Hmm. This is a little bit more of a tense situation than we had seen in game 1 and going into round 1, going into game 3.
Yeah.
It seems like both of them are going back and forth on who's going to make the missed check first.
Alright, 6 in the pipe. Looks like we're doing a little warp gate portal in hands. What are we gonna get? Is it sniping spy? No, it's electric moth. Oh,
Electric Moth.
oh, we checked
And
the
Tricky
sniping
2
spy.
again. I did not mean to predict that was going to happen. He does get the draw power and power off of it though.
The universe heard me say sniping spy and brought it to fruition just at the wrong time. Or right time if you're a
Ends up
Reiner
using
fan.
Always Cool. Ends up using Always Cool to get the extra foundations on face downs on stage and used his final card in hand to go for the block.
And he
It's a
checked
half.
a 6.
The complete opposite of what TC experienced.
My goodness. Yeah, truly the exact opposite. Got ramp and a 6 check versus resource denial and 2 checks.
Yep.
Uh,
And that damage reduction is something that David vastly needed on his stage as well. So TC 2 cards in hand. David, a fresh hand completely. Goes for female Titan attacks first. Checks the Jaw Titan attacks.
yeah. TC lucky to not have any face down, but I can only be lucky for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like we drew up a chomp here. Would not be surprised to see the chomp come down after this attack at all.
Beefs up the damage. I don't know that he has enough. TC will take it to face, losing 10.
Alright, we got 8 high for 10 in there. Only 2 ready foundations. I think it's time to chomp it out and just build. Take the resource advantage.
That makes
Yep.
most sense.
Hit the one that raised itself makes sense to me. Keep our rival perpetually on 3 foundations.
Ends up tossing out, and I'm with you.
Yeah, so Reiner's only at 8 foundations though. That's the only bad part is we needed one more foundation to get our transform, and then we would have transformed everything on our rival stage and been ready to start blowing it up on our next turn.
But we have seen cards in David's deck that allow him to build from hand. Either using or from stage using an effect of some or something with that nature. It is possible for him to maybe hit another foundation before he goes into response. But TC being on 3 foundations in stage is very rough in this situation.
Yeah, the problem is that Nick Reagan can do it though, right? The issue is it's so
We've already seen
tempting.
it today. We've already seen it today actually happen.
Yeah, again, it does seem to be a bit easier for the all symbol versions to pull it off, but they have to also actually draw all the cards, whereas this air version is doing a cool job of finding warp gate portals to stay very consistent with the sniping spy plan. But I'm not sure if it's not just better to guarantee 5 and 6 checks and like ramp actual foundations, right? What's funny is if